From the unreleased Burst Squad Hill item to a mythic SMG, tint upgrades, and more, there's a lot of stuff in the Fortnite files that got added with Chapter 3 that leads us to unreleased content and stuff we can expect to see coming to the game in the near future as we progress further through the season. However, while leaks are cool and stuff, we never actually get a visual glimpse on how these will work until the very last minute, which is why, what's going on, champs and champettes? It's FireMonkey here, and we'll be going through every new and revamped item added in the Chapter 3 Season 1 update that has not released yet. So this will include things such as the revamped machine pistol, the revamped heavy shotgun, which you're 100% going to watch when I use it because it is not what you're expecting, and more. Now I also want to mention we're not going to be going in any particular order, so if I want to start from this item and zigzag over here, vice versa, I'm going to do that. So without further ado, let's get right into today's video by showcasing the Burst Squad Hill. Now this item is one that you might actually already understand how to use based on the name itself being Burst Squad Hill, and that's the fact that when you use this item, it will heal you and any nearby teammates. Now as the description states, it will not heal any enemies, so if you're in a very intense gunfight and you want to make sure everyone around you is healed up without accidentally healing the enemies like you can with something like the shield sprinkler, you can use this item for it. And now before we pick it up here, I want to mention the animation when you're holding it is currently bugged just because it's not finished at all. As you can tell by the model itself, this actually is something that you're supposed to be holding in your hand, with the top being a little button that you would press down in order to heal all your teammates. So without further ado, let's pick it up. As you can tell right here by the inventory, it actually uses the Save the World icon, and it doesn't have any stats or anything related to it. However, when you're using it, it's just being praised. It's right there, held up in your hands, and when you actually click down your mouse button or whatever your actual use button is, like if you're firing a gun, this is what happens. That's right, it acts like a bandage bazooka and it will just shoot you with the bandage itself, giving you the health. Now if you had teammates around you, allies, whatever, this would make the bandage bazooka shoot to each of those teammates and you would kind of see a little animation. Now whether it goes from the central area in the current bugged mode or if it flies just from the sky down to your teammates is unknown, but it is a very interesting item that we will see in the future. Now something to mention here that you can tell isn't really working that well based on the icon is that it actually has a 3-minute cooldown each time you use it, making it have a little bit of that nerf in there so that it's not overpowered to the point where you're just sitting there like spam just to make sure your teammates never lose any health at all. And now another health item that's actually been worked on recently is the Quick Heal item. And now there's two variants of this. One of them is not in the game files, which we'll talk about that one first. That is the Durburger variant. Now the Durburger variant of the Quick Heal item can stack up to 3 of them, and it'll give you 50 HP each time you use it. So basically it's just a major HP boost. However, the Pepper version that we're going to be testing out in today's video, which I'll go ahead and pick up right now, is a lot different. This stacks up to a max stack of 6 items. It will give you 15 HP, however it will also increase your speed by 1.4 times for 3 seconds. So as you can tell right now, we are just currently walking normally, and after I eat this item we gain that 15 HP and we start getting some speed for only 3 seconds. So it's going to be a very interesting item that might be able to help you out if you're trying to slide around, whatever it might be. However, of course, it's not finished yet, so I do want to know, what do you think about this? What do you think about this one, and how do you think the Durburger item, if that one gets added to the game as well, will work in comparison to this one? And now, since we are on the topic about food items in Fortnite, where else should we go than the rare meat item? So now I want to speculate right off the bat before we actually even try out this item of how you'll obtain this, because you don't just stick meat into an upgrade bench and then pay bars to upgrade the rarity. No, how I think this is going to be obtained is by eliminating those new dino creatures that are going to be coming in a future update. Now regarding the stats itself, this can stack up to 2 rare meats in a single inventory slot. However, when you actually eat it, it will restore your HP by 50. So as you see, we just went from 10 to 60 just from one nice little munch on this rare meat. So it could be a very interesting concept where it's like, do I want to keep this dino? Do I want to use the stuff like the blowhole, which is basically like, you know, a dino launch pad, or do I want to eliminate this dino in order to get rare meat that could be super useful during combat? It's kind of like a moral dilemma in a way, but at the same time it's still a very interesting way to mix up the classic meat gameplay. And now for this next item, you may notice that it has a very interesting mesh on it, because if you follow Fortnite history, you'll know that that is the Storm Tracker item that actually showed you the next storm rotations before that item even, you know, ever got deleted from the files. Because believe it or not, that item never released. It was a glitch glitch that showed up in some matches and when it wasn't supposed to. However, this isn't that storm tracker, instead this is the shield aura item. And how it works is when you pick it up, anyone in your radius, which I believe is only going to be teammates and you, will actually gain shield over time from this item. It has basically infinite durability as of right now, which makes it a little overpowered. However, I feel that this might only be for an LTM. It might only be, it might get nerfed before it officially releases for all we know. However, as of right now, this will heal you and everyone else around you up to 50 shield. It does not do more than that, and it does not heal your health. It just brings you up to 50 shield and leaves you there. So I'll kind of let this play through here. I'll sit back, relax, and we can watch as it slowly takes us up to 50. However, I'll probably speed up the footage, so here we go. So yeah, as you can tell, it's taken us to 50 shield and then it's completely stopped working. Now regarding the description itself, it just says regenerate shield to you and nearby allies over time up to a cap. So this is doing its intended purpose, however the mesh and everything else going on with it might not be the final mesh. And now before we go into the weapons and talk about this heavy shotgun, because man is it not what I was expecting, I want to talk about these green glowing blobs. So as you guys know, there's currently tints in the game that you can store items cross matches. However, in the future, you'll be able to spend bars in order to upgrade these tints. Now based on what Hypix has stated on Twitter, each upgrade is only going to cost 50 bars, however that could change before it officially releases, and these upgrades are the following: a campfire improvement, which most likely will allow it so you can regen health at your own tint, an improvement that adds the upgrade station, so you place your tent down and you can upgrade your weapons via the tent itself, and a picnic table upgrade, which I believe might be a side storage for the tent that allows you to specifically store, food items inside of it. All three of these upgrades will be coming to the tents in the near future that will allow you to actually get more benefits from using these items. And now if I was to pick them up right here, they do literally nothing. They're not on my inventory or anything. They just kind of vanish into thin air because they're not meant to be picked up and they're just meant to be upgrades for the tent itself. But with all of that out of the way, it's time to go over to the 3 weapons that have been added or revamped in Chapter 3 Season 1, and the first weapon's actually going to be a mythic. So as you guys know, the IOs are currently coming to the Fortnite island, and there's tons of IO enemies that are slowly going to be appearing over time. However, there's going to be a mythic IO Brute boss, similar to how we have the Foundation, that will drop the IO Brute's Stinger SMG once eliminated. And now the sound files for this actual weapon aren't going to work. However, if we shoot it, you can see how fast it shoots, how much damage it does, and man, it's actually a pretty powerful weapon, so it's going to be interesting to see how this works when it officially releases. And now we press V here, you can actually see the stats. So it does 24 damage, it has a fire rate of 12, a magazine size of 30, and a reload time of 2 seconds. But overall, this is a pretty interesting weapon that is definitely going to cause some differences in gameplay depending on how well it's used, and of course how often people even manage to obtain this, depending on how hard the IO Brute even is. And now before we go into the heavy shotgun, we have to talk about the machine pistol. As you guys know, the machine pistol has actually never released, however has been accidentally introduced into LTM such as Solid Gold multiple times in the past, to the where Epic Games has vaulted this item more times than they probably should have without ever having originally intended for the item to even be unvaulted in the first place. And now to showcase this item and its current stats, I do want to mention that this has test weapon stats, so it could change over time. We are going to shoot another building. As you can tell right now, it just kind of blazes through it. It does a little bit less damage and it's a little bit slower than the actual IO Brute's SMG, but it is still an interesting pistol that could add a little bit more depth to gameplay, especially with it being called a pistol. And now for the stats itself, you can see it does 19 damage, has a fire rate of 15, a magazine size of 35, and a reload time of 2.16 seconds for the legendary version. Now of course the lower rarity versions will have less damage, etc., but this is the legendary version we're showcasing. And now finally, it's time to talk about the heavy shotgun, the showmaker here, the thing that I was blown away with when I tested. It's a little bit different, you may notice here, but it doesn't have the actual scope on it anymore. They've actually modified the mesh to remove the scope, and actually in the image of the item itself, the scope's missing from it as well. This was because a while ago, they actually completely removed the heavy shotgun from the game files, and they recently added it back in Chapter 3, however with some very interesting stats. So we press V to inspect here, you can see it does 33 damage, has a fire rate of 1, a magazine size of 5, and a 5.6 62-second reload time. And now, based on my testing, I do not believe this item is finished because 1, it's labeled as a test weapon, but 2, the stats itself are pretty ridiculous. So without further ado, let's go ahead and shoot this item. Yeah, that it shot 1 pellet. That's exactly what's going on here. So if we get closer, you can see it does a little bit more damage. If we get very far away, so if we go over here by the bush, for example, and we shoot that same area, it is not going to go down as much. It went from 244 to 216. So actually, wait a minute. 216, I think that was more damage than we did from right there. I might be just counting wrong, but it seems like a very interesting item. And now you might think, oh, the single bullet shot, the single slug shot is a very interesting aspect to it. There's no way that's official, right? Well, of course, this is a test weapon ID. However, the description has been changed to read, pump shotgun with a large magazine, fires slugs for medium range effectiveness. So it appears that instead of firing a lot of actual shotgun pellets at once, it's only going to fire 1 each shot, and it's going to do more damage from a longer distance. So overall, it is a very interesting item that I'm going to be intrigued to see if they bring this back this chapter with the current stats it has. So I want to know down below, were you expecting the heavy shotgun to do this when I showcased it? I bet not. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed today's YouTube video. It's a little bit different than the normal, but I thought I'd do some live commentary content while showcasing some new weapons, because let's be honest, it mixes up the playing field a little bit and lets me experiment with the channel. But with that said, I'll catch you champs and champettes tomorrow with another YouTube video. Peace out.